Good evening, I'm Tips Mahoy, and this is ArthIntel Evening Edition. Coming up, Israel rejects Gaza peace plan, vows no military withdrawal until Hamas disarms, Hoover Dam losing power, inside slowest-moving train wreck in history. Canada puts the military on standby as British Columbia wildfires kill one and displace thousands. That plus a check of the weather across the country. First tonight, the headlines making news around the world. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday rejected the U.S.-backed 15-point Gaza peace plan, saying Israeli forces will not withdraw until Hamas is, in his words, genuinely disarmed. Netanyahu said Israel wants real disarmament, not fictitious disarmament, and that the military will continue to thwart threats against Israeli forces and citizens. He said Israel is in talks with the U.S. over objections to the plan, which President Trump had called a historic agreement for disarming Hamas and other groups in Gaza. In response, Hamas said through Political Bureau member Bassem Naim that it remains committed to the roadmap and expects mediators and the U.S. to pressure Netanyahu. The Colorado River system is facing what experts call a crisis, as drought and a weak 2026 snowpack push reservoir levels toward dangerous new lows. The Bureau of Reclamation says Hoover Dam's hydropower output is expected to drop 40% of its maximum capacity this year, as it works to keep Lake Powell high enough to keep generating electricity at Glen Canyon Dam. As of June 2026, Lake Powell sits at 3,528 feet, just above the 3,490-foot threshold engineers call minimum power pool, below which the dam can no longer generate electricity. John Berggren of Western Resource Advocates calls it a crisis moment for the Colorado River, saying the problem has been known for years. Canada has put its military on standby to help fight deadly wildfires raging across British Columbia. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police say an 80-year-old woman died trying to escape the fast-moving Bald Range fire near Summerland, which has now grown to about 60 square miles. Roughly 20,000 people have fled their homes, with about 10,000 homes under evacuation orders in Summerland, Peachland, and surrounding areas. Summerland Mayor Doug Holmes warned residents to brace for major destruction, saying, "Everybody will know somebody who has lost a home." Turning now to politics. Your website should make you money, most don't. Toolbox Development builds sites that actually rank on Google and turn visitors into calls. No contracts. Find them at toolboxdevelopment.net. President Trump has signed an executive order recommending childhood vaccinations be cut from 18 to 11 and calling for the MMR shot to be split into separate doses. Trump repeated a discredited claim linking vaccines to autism, but multiple studies, including a 2019 Danish study of more than 657,000 children, found no such connection. The move drew sharp criticism from the American Academy of Pediatrics, whose president called it dangerous, as measles cases hit a 35-year high in the U.S., and from Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, who said the president does not have the expertise to make the change. The federal government cannot enforce the new recommendations since school vaccine requirements are set by individual states. Joint Base Charleston in North Charleston, South Carolina, has officially been renamed Joint Base Lindsey Graham, honoring the late Republican senator who died in mid-July from an aortic dissection at age 71. The renaming ceremony was held Monday, attended by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, following a late July memo from Secretary of the Air Force Troy Menck citing Graham's decades of distinguished service to Congress and the Air Force. Graham served 33 years in the Air Force, including as an active-duty staff judge advocate, and before his death secured $212 million for the base's Coast Guard readiness efforts. Base Commander Carl Kenneth Shirley said at the ceremony that Graham's support was cemented into the foundation that makes this base. The Trump Justice Department has filed lawsuits against New York, Connecticut, and Vermont, accusing them of giving illegal aliens in-state tuition, financial aid, and scholarships not equally available to American citizens from other states. It's part of a broader campaign that has now produced 17 such lawsuits nationwide. The DOJ says the practice violates federal law, specifically 8 U.S.C. Section 1623, which bars states from offering residence-based college benefits to those unlawfully present unless citizens get the same deal regardless of residency. Associate Attorney General Stanley Woodward said, "Congress long ago made clear that states cannot put illegal aliens over our nation's own citizens," and said the department will keep filing such suits until the practice ends. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., announced 2 new food policy moves Monday as part of the Trump administration's Make America Healthy Again agenda. First, HHS is proposing a rule requiring food manufacturers to notify the FDA when they determine an added substance is generally recognized as safe, ending a decades-old practice that let companies make that call without government oversight. Second, HHS and the USDA submitted for final review what Kennedy called the federal government's first official definition of ultra-processed foods. Kennedy said nearly 60% of the American diet, and up to 70% for children, is made up of ultra-processed foods, adding, "Parents should not need a chemistry degree to understand what their children are eating." Now to the money, finance, and crypto. This spot is available. ArthIntel reaches a daily news audience on the Evening Edition and across ArthIntel.com. To advertise with us, visit ArthIntel.com. Wall Street closed mostly flat Monday as doubts grew over a lasting U.S.-Iran resolution. The S&P 500 slipped 0.06% to 7,753.11. The Nasdaq fell 0.32%, and the Dow dropped nearly 61 points. Intel led the tech decline, falling 4% after announcing a $15 billion common stock offering, while Nvidia and Apple also weighed on the market. Oil surged more than 5% as Iran's foreign minister said, according to Tasnim news agency, that talks with the U.S. can't resume until Washington addresses alleged violations of a June agreement, while President Trump told Axios the U.S. is only semi-negotiating with Tehran. Bitwise head of research Ryan Rasmussen says investors are underestimating Circle's opportunity as the stablecoin market heads toward multi-trillion-dollar size. Speaking on CoinDesk's Public Keys, Rasmussen argued Circle's upside isn't just reserve revenue from more stablecoins in circulation, but a growing payments infrastructure business. He acknowledged banks and consumer companies are rolling out their own stablecoins, but said he doesn't see that competition as a major threat to Circle. Strategy is building a $4.75 billion cash cushion, moving beyond its Bitcoin-only approach. According to CEO Phong Le, the company adjusted its strategy after finding that preferred stock investors place a premium on cash liquidity. The move is part of a broader push to evolve into a digital credit business, with a positioning strategy as a financial platform built around Bitcoin rather than simply a leveraged Bitcoin proxy. And now, today's top stories from the world of sports. Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is back with the team after a 2-week absence following the shooting of his wife, Mia. Mia Bieniemy, 57, was hospitalized on July 26 after allegedly being shot by the couple's son at the family's Virginia home, according to police and the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. The son, 27-year-old Elijah Bieniemy, was arrested and charged with malicious wounding and firearm offenses and is being held without bond. Coach Andy Reid says Mia remains stable and doing well, and that Eric didn't miss a step upon returning to practice. Several former NFL players say they're pushing to recover money they say they lost to a New Jersey man who died July 31 after allegedly defrauding them through a company called Motion Venture. Former New York Giants linebacker T. Crowder tells ESPN he lost at least $500,000, providing wire payment records to back up his claim, while other investors say their losses topped $1 million. According to a sworn whistleblower complaint filed with the SEC, FBI, and Pennsylvania banking regulators, the man, Mohammed Koulibaly, told investors their money was going into Shopify e-commerce stores that would eventually be bought out by Middle Eastern venture partners for a huge payout. That group told ESPN it had never heard of Koulibaly, who previously told the New York Post he disputed the allegations after they first surfaced in a Barron's report. And finally, here's a look at temperatures across the country right now. It's hottest in Phoenix at 105 degrees, while Seattle is the coolest spot on the board this evening at 70. That's ArthIntel Evening Edition for now, 12 stories coast to coast. I'm Tips Mahoy for ArthIntel, signal over noise. Stay plugged in. Hit like and subscribe, turn on those notifications, and explore arthintel.com for the full reports.